Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Edge of Growth. If this is the first time that I'm appearing in your feed or I am blessing your ears with my English tones, then hello, thank you for being here. My name is Hannah Ajikawa. I'm the CEO and founder of Revenue Funnel, and I help go-to-market. I do, but I help B2B tech and SaaS organizations to create and execute go-to-market plans that drive more pipelines. So, one, if that sounds interesting, I'll drop some links in the comments here on LinkedIn and also in the show notes when it is uploaded into the podcast platform. But we're live, which is rare. So I'm here, like, this is live where we're right here. I know it's usually pre-recording, but back to the edge of growth. So every week I get to sit down with an expert in and around the go-to-market organization to answer questions that are front of mind about growth, things that are actually happening right now, that are working, things to avoid, but also some of the things that we see coming over the horizon. And believe it or not, there's this thing called AI that everyone's talking about. So this week, I am absolutely excited to be joined by one of my sales besties, Leslie Vanette. And Leslie is the CEO of the sales-led go-to-market agency who is here to help you. And I'm going to take all of her insights and nuggets out of her brain and give them to you for free. So you should be grateful for this. Okay, and we're going to be answering this question. Are we automating sales to death? So I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to bring Leslie up and we're going to go in on this because, of course, it's fun. This is playtime.
Yay. Hi.
Hey, what's up?
Well, I am just so excited to be here. Every time that we talk about anything, I think it's a worthwhile conversation. And this is a particularly, this is a question a lot of people are asking. And so I think this will be an extra meaningful conversation.
So who is Leslie? Who's Leslie?
Oh, yeah. Hey, hi, team. We are, in fact, live. This won't be edited. You gave me a promotion. I usually go by founder because I'm a solopreneur. And I feel like the distinction is you can't really be a CEO of no full-time employees, although I do have 11 freelancers supporting me. So thanks for the promotion. I, as you so kindly mentioned, run the sales-led go-to-market agency. I am outbound obsessed. And so I do top of funnel, meaning making sure people have dialed in their ICP and then niching way down. So they have value props that are matched to specific segments of their ICP. What does good copy look like? What does good outreach look like through to the disco? Because the hill I will die on is that the discovery call is the last step top of funnel, because that's the last chance we have to earn the right to switch into a true buying conversation. So those are some of the things I'm obsessed with.
I love it. And we might have created a sales love affair through our love for discovery. And on that hill, we met on that hill and we were like, this is it. There's nothing else. So I just want to give some backstory. So me and Leslie developed our relationship online, as you do through LinkedIn, because that's what you do when you're in sales and go to market. And then we had this moment, right, where we tried to find each other at SaaStr in London. I was wearing the brightest jacket in the whole of the world, and we couldn't find each other. We just couldn't find each other. You were like, I'm in this room. I was like, I'm in that room. So we kept doing that. So she actually was in London, missed that opportunity. But then I saw Leslie at Inbound. I saw your name, and I was like, I'm going to that room. And then you did this thing. Did you see the picture I sent you? You didn't even respond to me. You just left me on red.
Oh my, I don't think I saw it. What was it?
So the moment that we met, we're just like adoring each other. It's so funny. You're like holding my hand. I'm holding yours. HubSpot are using that to promote freaking Inbound 25, by the way. So it's literally, that photo of us holding. So people keep sending me the picture saying, oh, wow, oh my God, Hannah, it's you. I'm like, I didn't give that permission. So yeah, hashtag I need to go and speak to.
Okay, you also need to resend it because I did not mean to leave review on red. I need to see that. Okay, well, if HubSpot doesn't give me a correspondence ticket this year, I will be like, stop using this picture of my face then to sell tickets.
And Americans like to sue, so I just sue somehow.
Very litigious people, yes.
I'm joking, HubSpot, I love you. But no, I mentioned that because we had this moment where we saw each other and Leslie was like, oh my God, it's Hannah. And 25 people that were around her table were like, I don't know what's going on here, and just left the crowd. So it was great. So I'm just happy that we get to connect. The first time we connected live on LinkedIn, we were making jokes about old school outbound messaging. And we literally spent 1 hour ripping into each other's messages, which was so much fun. But in just that short time, in 1 year, there has been this thing that has gained even more momentum, right? So it's gone beyond just using AI to write a clever email. Now it's everywhere. So I really want us to dive into this because some people are trying it, some people aren't. Some people understand it, some people don't. And there's this shiny object syndrome slash fear that's existing at the same time. So I want us to give people a bit of context as to what's happening, what the opportunity looks like, and whether we really are automating sales to death. So where should we start? Because we don't frame this. We're just going to talk. Where should we start? What do you think? What's your opinion?
Here's what I think, because it's so much easier to like shit on all the bad ways people are using AI and automation because the list is so long. So maybe a fun way to start would be to highlight a good way that we're seeing people use automation.
Okay, let's go. Let's dive into it. So think about some of those clients that you're working with, the conversations that you're having. What kind of good examples are you seeing around that application?
I posed the question and then did not have a pre-planned answer.
This is what we do.
Yeah, I know. So from a buying perspective, one of the things that they repeatedly ask us for are ways to self-serve when they want to self-serve. Not like we're forcing you to self-serve, and when you want a human, you're like screaming into the phone, human. So I think that the types of automation, and I see this more heavily in CS than in the outbound net new world, are ways that we can automate like self-serve opportunities.
Yes.
I think that's a fun one that I like seeing.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of other like standout.
I started writing about that in 2023, talking about just this when we're thinking about the B2B buyer journey, when we're thinking about how we're supporting buyers, is that we're still like, rather than thinking about AI, because there's going to be another revolution, right? In whenever many years. I was thinking about how we tie it back to what buyers want, which is convenience, which is what you're saying, which is there's this convenience layer that exists inside creating a really good buyer experience, which is I want to do things my way, and please allow me the option to do that. So I love that example that you brought up, because that just triggered some thoughts for me as well. Because right now, we're still forcing buyers to do things that are going to be useful for us, rather than going to help them to kind of incrementally step forward in what they're trying to do. So AI is perfect for that. Literally perfect. Yeah. There's some good examples, actually. I'm going to use a B2C example. One, I know there's lots of B2B ones, but I like this B2C one, which is I think it's TripActions, which are one of the kind of leading insurance providers, and they're like the flagship customer for OpenAI, where they were, at least from a use case perspective. But some of the things they did is, when it comes to like holiday insurance or any kind of insurance, it's, am I covered? So you can imagine, right, before you go on a trip, you've got all of these individuals calling up, like, I just want to make sure that I'm covered. Just want to make sure that I'm covered. It's annoying. Oh, you're in 7th in the queue and all that crap. And effectively what they did is they developed their own AI agent on their site, so that it can answer any single question about anything inside your insurance package, as well as claims and how to handle that. So they literally do not have to speak to a human. Like, it does everything. And of course, it's continuously learning, so it understands what somebody is.
That's also like very applicable, because I literally flew home from Colombia yesterday. And I bought trip insurance for that trip because the State Department was like, do not recommend travel. And I was like, respectfully, no, but I will buy travel insurance just in case.
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? So there's all of these applications, and I know that there are several in the B2B space when it comes to that, similar at the kind of buyer side of things. But the opportunity is huge. What else comes to mind around that?
I think the predictive stuff is extraordinarily interesting. And like, we already, to continue on like the B2C, we already see some really good examples in B2C. Like Netflix is usually the first one that pops into mind. We're like, how did you know that that's exactly what I wanted to watch Netflix? Like, okay. But I think part of what we're seeing in terms of changing buyer expectations in B2B is that many of those B2C experiences where we are interacting with predictive algorithms who it feels like they really know us.
Yeah.
They want that same experience in B2B, and it's pretty impossible to replicate because we simply just don't have the same access to data.
Yeah.
But when folks are using things like signals, like when they are using tools that are able to go out and scrape a bunch of information about our B2B buyers to predict what's going to be most relevant to use in the outreach, I think that there is some sort of translation from those B2C expectations into B to be aligned with being able to use some of that, like, crazy, like the tools and software that we now
Yeah.
have access to create a better buying experience, particularly from like that outbound perspective.
Yeah. I'm with you. So I one of the big things that I always that I refer to in line with that, of course, we're always in tune. It's around the expectations of buyers, right? Which is they are today very unforgiving, particularly the experienced buyer. It's like, why are you asking me the most basic stuff like this? Needs, if we're meeting synchronously like this and I'm giving you my time live, I need this to be valuable, a valuable exchange. You're not going to say, so you're head of sales. Cool. Like, what does that mean? Tell me.
So
Like,
where are you based?
yeah, where are you based? And it's like that's 5 minutes gone, right? Whereas it's the expectation is that you should know some of these fundamental pieces of information. Like the challenge I get, I'm not sure if you experience this, but I go sourcing technology for customers and prospects to recommend them. And if I put through a lead and I start speaking to one of the big companies, the sales reps do not get that. It's not for me. So I'm like, if you checked my profile, you'll see that I'm a consultant and there are 3 employees at my company. So you'd be like, don't think this big old data platform is going to be for her. She does say that she works with clients. So it's like, there's just all these things that you can tell people aren't doing the research, even without AI. And AI has the ability to give it to you. So we want to make sure that happens. So yeah, I'm glad we started on a B2B side, because I'm like, this is exciting. But let's transition into the sales side, because we had like four pillars of content to think through and areas to discuss. So one thing is, I want to make sure that I get the audience everything that you know about creating a high converting outbound strategy. So you started touching on that in your intro. The next area is when it comes to sales, where are we yet? Are we still on assistive, or are we starting to look at how it replaces certain parts when it comes to the sales process, sales activities? The other side is then like really how to stand out when everyone is automating. So this balance between, of course, leveraging automation, using you as a human, and trying to get that balance right. So I thought we could start with the assistive versus is it replacing? Because I got my opinions, but what are you thinking right now?
Yeah, I have a very strong opinion, and it's that it's assistive still.
Okay.
I have not seen anything that is replacive, and that doesn't mean that it can't replace particular actions that maybe were previously done manually.
Yeah.
But it should replace those actions to free up time so that the reps can do more of the strategic selling.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm still in the replacive bucket, and I don't know if we can get as spicy as talking about what's happening at 11x, but if we need an example,
why I don't know what happened at 11x, because I missed the news. I missed the news the last 2 days, because I noticed I joined. What happened yesterday? I joined a webinar, and someone didn't mention that 11x part, and they were like, "Yeah, but if we just talk about the news today," and I'm like, "I've obviously missed something. I'll get to it."
They have been lying about how many customers they have and the benefits that their customers are getting.
Yeah. Okay.
To the extent that their biggest tech, or their biggest, I don't know if it's a VC firm, I think it's a VC firm, is thinking about suing them because like the fraud in their claims is that egregious.
Oh, wow.
And 11x is an AI bot for outbound cold calls. So supposedly it's supposed to be able to identify the prospects and to craft custom messages and like schedule the sales calls. and it doesn't work and it's a lie, to the extent that they have literally had to make up customers
Oh my
to
gosh.
pretend like they are like doing the things that they have, promised their financial backers that they would do. And that's one of the companies that like people constantly point to when they're like, well, it's already here. Like AI is already making calls and it's happening. And I'm like,
Oops.
I do feel a little validated. I mean, obviously I feel bad for everybody that works there and all of their customers, but like one of the things that has really frustrated me in the AI evolution is that sellers in general are silver bullet seekers. Like they always want like the quick trip, the silver bullet. How do you make it easy? And generally what I have found in my almost 20-year career is that what makes it easy on us usually makes it harder on our buyers, or usually makes it like a less enjoyable process for our buyers. And that's why I have not been super bullish on something like a completely AI driven call bot without that's not assisting humans, that is trying to replace humans. And then to have something like this come out is a bit of a
That don't
gotcha
help.
moment.
Yeah,
Bad, not bad.
yeah, that's oh, God, it's too much effort to lie. People just tell the truth. It's just so much easier to tell the truth. So I have a slightly different opinion, and the reason why is because I think we look at the we look when we have this conversation around, is it assisting, is it replacing, does it work, does it not? We have this really holistic view that believe is centered around SaaS rather than just B2B in general. And I think when we start to break it up a bit and we're like, okay, let's break this down a bit. Let's look at other types of B2B, right? So if there was a bot that was automating a call from a car manufacturer to a dealership inside that to kind of sell, so that's probably okay. That's probably going to work, right? Depending on what that sales pitch is. I also think we need to break it down into, again, not just SaaS, but also looking at inbound. I generally believe I'm on the hill right now of inbound, for the most part, for a lot of deals can be handled through AI, through transparency, where it's someone's come through as some kind of lead. I've seen some talk tracks where I felt like it works well, but here's an example. There's a company, and they actually using the call transcript as an advert. Hey, maybe it's all lies, who knows? But I did see a live demo and I kind of saw it work in action. So again, but who knows, could be lying. Essentially what a lot of the inbound motions are doing is, because you get the information, the AI is basically just leading that discovery call. And I know that Winning by Design have partnered up with I can't remember the company name right now to basically create these AI SDRs that are doing Spiced. And I was on the live demo and it was, it's a little bit slow and stuff. I'm like, this does it better than, it literally does it better than most. I'm on a lot of discovery calls.
Yeah.
And it's following it and it's having a conversation. It's like, how are you? It's like, yeah, I'm fine. And it's literally like going back and forth, and the buyers interrupting and saying, sorry, I'm not interested in that. And they're like, oh, sorry, what is it that you want? They're asking proper questions. So the AI inbound SDR is here. It just needs some tweaks. I mean, we're like 6 to 8 weeks out from it being, I think, something where you're like, yeah, let me throw this in. The outbound SDR is where I'm like, I don't know fully, like we're looking at the big picture, if that is something that I'd put my, I wouldn't hire that right now for the most part. But customer service, yes. Like following up with customer queries, getting it done faster. My thing though is like, it will absolutely replace AI inbound SDRs without a doubt in the next 6 months. Customer success reps that are like junior, query driven, inside sales, account managers type thing in bigger enterprise customers just makes sense. But it needs to be transparent. It needs to be something where if I've been why am I forgetting the word? Basically, if all the data from my organization is already drilled into my AI SDR, that's an inbound rep supporting customers as an example, then anything they ask, I'm likely to know. And if I don't, that's when I hand it off to a human. So it's like, oh, I just wanted to understand when our renewal date's due. Are you really going to be sending an email when your customer success manager sees it like a day late? Why are we just get that done by an inbound kind of an AI rep? So that's kind of where I think the conversation should be broken up a bit so we can like really just investigate those different lanes, inbound, outbound, enterprise, small, different kind of sales, just so we can start to figure out like where is it going to replace and can it replace, and then where would it be like not yet. So that's kind of where my head's at.
No, I think that's a really good take on the like holistic view, because that is very much the lens that I'm like, no, AI is not going to replace sales as a profession.
No,
overall, but the more transactional something is, the faster it's going to be replaced. The lower value, like lower risk, lower value sales, that's pretty easy to replace. A lot of those people, like, they don't need to be talking to a human anyways. They might prefer to not talk to a human. Like, if I'm buying something for $100 a month and I have to get on a sales call to buy it, like, I'm just going to not buy it. So I think you make a very, very valid point there. Two other things that I thought of when you were sharing. One is, I think there is a huge difference between inbound reps who are order takers and inbound reps who run a full cycle.
Yeah.
And so, yes, I very much see a short-term path to replacing the inbound rep that's sort of like a, hey, you asked to set up a meeting, and instead of just making it easy for you to set up a meeting, I'm calling you to ask you qualifying questions, most of which I probably could have looked up myself, because I want to waste 15 minutes of your time before it. So
that should be in the email as well. That is
the definition of this call could have been an email, or this meeting could have been an email. So I think there are those options to like remove friction from the process. But if you are a rep that is running a full cycle and you're getting leads from inbound, I think that is much harder to replace, because that's when you're starting to build the relationship. And that's important. I also think what I heard again and again and again was that the biggest opportunities for AI, outside of replacing that sort of like transactional stuff that doesn't need the additional friction of a human, is that we do a really bad job being humans on phone calls.
In general, before AI.
Before AI, for sure. And so it's like same. I listen to, like, I read thousands of cold emails. I listen to hundreds of discovery calls. And I find myself sometimes, you can tell, because I'll look in the mirror afterwards and you can tell I've been like stress grabbing my hair on some of the phone calls.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, yeah, I can see an opportunity for AI to ask better questions, because they're going to ask questions to understand, not to respond, not to go into
like, that's so interesting.
Right? And
so it's listening. It's like, you need to tell me the information so I can give you the
So I think that it may be also, this is very like hopeful, silver lining stuff, but hopefully will also be a catalyst for reps to be able to listen to conversations that happened with AI, where AI asked questions with the intent to understand, not to respond, where AI asked questions that weren't just these like self-serving, well, what keeps you up at night? Well, what would the outcome be if you didn't make a decision? Because our buyers are smart, and those are like very, especially as you mentioned, like our experienced buyers, like they clock us, they see us coming from a mile away. So I think there's an opportunity there, but my biggest doubt currently with AI being replacive is the idea of garbage in, garbage out. And the people that are training these bots generally are pretty shitty at sales.
So I'm going to add to that. Point three is also we are still going to be just the way that we train reps. So I go on about this all the time. I challenge the leaders that I work with and say that we keep structuring our businesses around people that are right now ready to buy. So we're going to keep developing these SDRs that are AI SDRs, AI reps that are trying to see if someone's ready to buy. And if they're not, they're going to just combust and turn into flames, which is like, we need to get them to a place where it's like, I can see you're at early stage. I can see that you're still learning and trying to understand stuff. But I just feel like the AI SDRs are going to, like, like in those movies where the robots just like set on fire. That's what
combust. Like,
yeah,
does not compute. Does not compute.
Yeah.
Like, give me your credit card.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so true. It's so true. But like when I think about signals, I think about signals in 3 buckets. Like, one bucket is definitely ready to buy. Like, they've submitted a demo request, they're viewing your pricing page, whatever it is. Yeah. But the other 2 buckets, which are where, as you and I both know, 99% of the potential TAM sits, are aware of a problem and actively seeking a solution for it, or unaware that there is a problem, that there is a better solution, that there is somebody that can help them. And it's why the best reps that I know, and certainly a huge reason that I massively exceeded quota and my teams exceeded quota the entire career, is the ability to identify people that need to be educated and nurture them.
Yep.
And the ability to realize that, like, there are plenty of folks who are much more risk averse maybe than we would like them to be. Yeah. And even though they should buy now, the fear of making the wrong decision is so much stronger than any COI or ROI language. Like, sometimes people just like need their hand held a little bit. And we lose a lot of that, I think, with some of the AI processes.
I am with you 100%. Like, that's a big thing that I see when working with, well, that's everything I talk about, right? Everything I talk about with discovery as well is all around trying to understand how we educate and guide. So I have this thing like teach and guide them if they're at their stage, which is around educating them. And the other side is just like, close the fucking deal, right? But it's
there's a time to stop talking.
Yeah.
When somebody has told you they're ready to buy and just close the deal.
The AI is going to be like, but I didn't get the implication. I didn't get the implicate the pain. I can't close this. I'm really sorry. I can't close this deal. But I wanted to, Penny had a good, hey, Penny had a good question, which is like, how does customers respond to speaking to a bot in that scenario? So that's when I was talking about, the inbound AI, responding to a customer query or answering a question or a lead. So how it happened is, the bot actually called back the inbound lead that requested a demo at 9 p.m. And the person on the phone is like, hey, do you know it's 9 p.m.? And it's like, hey, yeah, I actually work for this. I'm an AI agent, and I'm just making sure that you have everything you need. And the person's like, oh, wow. Well, yeah, I booked in the time. It's like, great. So is there anything else I can help you with? Is everything fine? I saw that you booked this time. Something along those lines. But essentially, it was the person said, oh, actually, yeah, I did have a question. And then it answered the question and was like, great. So this is the time that we've got in. Does that still work? It's like this time, that time. Yep, that's all good. And it was like, it announced that it's AI. So that at that point, the customer can be like, I'm done, or I'm curious, right? So I think it's that one thing, that full transparency and that declaration is like, if we just did that, we give buyers the opportunity. So we're showing them, hey, we're moving into, the 22nd century, and we're this is where it's going. Yeah. So we're trying and we're experimenting. We think you might like this, you may not, but we're going to tell you that here's an option for you. And if you don't like it, fair enough. If you do, this is great. We're going to keep doing it. But I think if the expectation outweighs where the companies are trying to get to, and it's like, I just thought I'd get someone to confirm the detail. Do you know what I mean? Like, why don't you guys use agents to help us find this? I feel like we're at a point where let's experiment. Let's experiment through transparency. But if we're just like, nah, our customers don't want that. How do you know? There's lots of things that I thought I didn't want until I had it, and was like, this is fantastic. Like this chair cushion, I didn't know how great this would be until
I too have a butt cushion for my chair, and it's a delight.
I never use one.
Yeah, I don't just work like a gremlin all the time. It's amazing. You said two things.
Yeah.
Well, you said many things that were brilliant, as you always do. Continuing our fangirl love affair. Yes.
I love it.
Two things though. One is that we sell to so many different types of personalities, right? So it's like the same reason that you want to take a channel of choice approach and have at least 3 channels, because you're giving the person an opportunity to respond to you on their channel. And so I think we have to keep that in mind with AI, that like 100% there are going to be people who are jazzed. This is so cool. I just talked to this happen. There's also going to be another like 20% on the other end that are going to be like, how dare you?
Yeah.
So
true. Yeah.
Right, being transparent and giving them an opportunity to like opt out of AI communication, I think that's the new opt out.
I love it.
Right?
Oh, I love that. That's so good.
Giving them the power. So I think that's one part of it. But I also think, well, let me share a story first, and then I'm going to move on to the other point, because it reminds me of like the Sephora experience, where they have the 2 different types of bins that you can, like shopping carts, and one is like don't talk to me, and the other is talk to me. Have you seen that? So I feel like that's how we need to like take an approach to AI, like a choose your own adventure approach to getting to engage with AI. But I also think what makes AI not work, I mean, there's a lot of reasons, but one is if people feel duped. So if people think they're talking to a human and then they find out they aren't, it makes us feel stupid. It's like the same reason that when you send outreach that's like, oh, I've been looking at your profile and I think you're amazing and I can't wait to do this and that with you. And then you find out that like it was a lie and the person doesn't meet you, feel duped, and that feels really bad.
Yeah, it feels awful. It's so annoying. It feels
awful. And it's why our buyers don't like us.
Yeah.
So I think we need to be extremely careful about not making it even worse by trying to actively dupe people into believing AI is not AI.
That's my issue. I'm just like, full transparency. I mentioned that on what you said around the Sephora experience. I didn't use that example, but I was saying that I said we're just so in tune. I said it on a webinar a couple of weeks ago where I said it's a bit like, Netflix on Netflix Kids, you can choose your own ending for some shows. So you can be like, actually, I want it to, do you want the exciting ending? Do you want the mysterious one? Do you want a happy one? And it's just like, I want happy. So you can do that. So I like that optionality, I think is huge. Like that is, and just being able to, hey, we've been trying out AI agents because from feedback from our customers, a lot of what we're hoping it achieves is this, what we're seeing it achieve so far with this, speed of responses, you have a chance to opt out or opt in. Like that's it. That's really what I think we should be doing. But as it learns and it keeps drilling into the super intelligence, I think we are going to be very surprised in 2 years at the type of rep or buyer experience that it replaces. I think we're going to be like, oh wow,
2 years. I think we're more like 5 years.
I think it's quicker than that.
I think like 5. Not that I don't think in 2 years we'll look back and be like, holy smokes. I cannot believe how much this has changed. But I think we're still like 5+ years away from AGI. And then I think when we start tapping into AGI is when we will see AI work in the way that like we thought it would initially work from like the movies and the sci-fi books, where it is like, it really does feel like it is reading our mind.
I see where we're at today, which is all the functionalities available definitely by the end of this year. The only one of the issues we have is the privacy implications of trying to figure all that out. But where I see by December is reps, not that it's going to be adopted. I just feel like the ability to do, right. So that's where I'm at. The ability to do this as a rep. I'm an AE, maybe an enterprise AE. I've got an enterprise sale. I literally manage 4 agents. One agent does my contracts. One agent does my research and prep for meetings. One agent comes into my meetings and jumps in. Literally can be like, just want to add, because it's picked up through our coaching structure that you have an answer around metrics. It's going to double confirm that. AI doing an agent doing a summary even at the end of the meeting, but then the human just maintaining that. So I feel like as a rep, I'm going to create my HANA AI enterprise agent that's going to different ones that's going to be able to do and manage my deal and stuff and be like, oh, HubSpot's not updated. Let me go, let me go do that. The functionality is the technology's there, the functionality's almost there, but we're being negligent if we're not going to be educating and enabling our teams to understand how they leverage agents in the next 9 months. Because if the bottleneck in your go-to-market right now is going to be that this thing takes us long, and your competitor has figured out how to make that faster, which is serving the right information, getting an RFP complete in literally 20 minutes because they just feed their questions in and it's done. You don't have to change anything. The agent's like 80% complete. It's like if you're going to have this a bottleneck that can be fixed by AI and it just takes your competitor fixing it quicker, you're going to lose out. So I feel like we're not going to be adopting that by the end of the year, but the functionality will be ready. And 2026 is going to be like where we start seeing reps, even SDRs, because some of them will be gone, managing agents. You just have to I'm going to be, that's my team, my promotion. I now manage agents.
Yeah. I do some content for Attention, which is my conversational intelligence bot that I've used for like 2 years, and they just started rolling out agents. So I've been experimenting with them for content, and it's awesome. Like they just rolled out an agent that makes sales decks. So you are like, make a sales deck for this call. You just type it a little note in Slack, and then it makes it. And like, it's not ready to send. Let me be clear, but I am a person that will spend like an hour making a deck that doesn't strictly need an entire hour, but I just like obsess over the details, blah, blah, blah. So having that as the jumping off point, I do think is important, but I think still it comes back to garbage in, garbage out. So if the person building the agents doesn't really understand what good looks like, which almost certainly they don't, if you see the 80% of sales calls and outreach and sales processes and pipelines that I think my fear, Hannah, is that we are going to be using AI to embed existing bad behaviors. Like we're going to be just automating the processes and the behaviors that don't work well already, because that's the only information we have to train.
My fear is also on top of that is and this is where like the automation to death piece comes in, is it's a bit like autocorrect. Sometimes you're like writing a birthday card and you're like, is that how you spell it? Like, damn.
All the time. I put so many U's in things that don't need U's.
I'm embarrassed. And it's because I've spent when did I get my first like phone where I was autocorrecting? Maybe 17, 18, like at college. So like, almost 20 years ago. Right. And it's like, I don't write very often. I write my notes and stuff, but when it comes to if I had to write like 1,000 words, I would have to stop a couple of times to be like, wow, this is really annoying. And because I work with American companies, and so I'm like, oh, damn, it's the American spelling. So I just feel like with the agent stuff, to your part about embedding bad practices, is that when we are ready to step in, we're going to forget. And it's just exactly like with COVID, where we saw all these new reps join, and then they had the opposite experience, right? So experienced reps were like, I've always sold face-to-face. I've always had to do all of this stuff. And now I had to do it virtual. A bit annoying, but it is what it is. The new reps had, I've only done virtual, and now you want me to come and see you. Like, what do I wear? Do I shake your hand? I don't know. Do I hug you? Like, how do I do this face-to-face? I'm a bit awkward. Now, I'm not saying it's for everyone. I am generalizing, but essentially that's what could be, that's some of the danger that we could see, where we get so used to all these agents that we're like, damn, like, what should I be listening out for? Even like the call listening, right? Even now we've got our listening tools, and sometimes we're like, I'm sure the AI is going to pick that up. It's like, damn, it didn't. And I didn't listen to what they said when they said that this was the issue, and it didn't pick it up.
Yeah. I didn't realize that my call bot was not on a discovery call a couple of weeks ago. And then I went to make the proposal and it wasn't there. And I was in a tizzy, and I reached out to them and said, hey, can you send me your copy? And they also hadn't put their claw in. Oh my God. But like to your point of sort of letting some of those like mental muscles atrophy, I experienced this myself when I was writing the book, that I had spent so much time writing short form content and creating short form content that when it was time to pivot back to, 82,000 words versus a max of 3,000 characters, it was so much more difficult than I realized, which is crazy because if you think about like all of the writing that I had done really up to corporate life, it's writing these long essays and papers for school. And I was like in Model United Nations and stuff, writing like 40-page thesis papers about like food security. And I loved it. And I was so good at it. And I remember how hard it was to transition into writing really tight, really succinct copy.
Yeah.
And I hadn't written long form in so many years. And those mental muscles had completely atrophied. It was so humbling to have to reteach myself that skill set. So yeah, I mean, 100%. It's like, if you don't use it, you lose it.
That is literally it, and it's accurate. Not only your points on your loyalty program, but that too. So I wanted to make sure that we didn't lie to people who are listening. And I'm thinking about AI, and you hinted at it earlier, but that outbound strategy, that you were digging into, because I love the way you talk about this and how you break it down, and it just seems so logical to me. But I know for a lot of people are like, I haven't thought about it like that. So let's go into like what it takes to really create that, particularly now that we've got AI to support us in a lot of that segmentation and work. So let's see that great application of AI inside the outbound strategy. So
yeah, 100%. You already used the keyword, which is segmentation. And so where I generally see people at, where I meet them at, is they are looking at the pool of like total addressable market, TAM, or really like when they conceptualize their territory or their leads, they're thinking anybody that could potentially buy from them for any reason. And so we take them down to like their ideal customer profiles, personas. But my argument is that is simply not enough, because even if you're only looking at your ICP, like your accounts that you have in your CRM, that's still thousands of accounts. And if you're trying to use the same messaging for all of them, even though you've niched down so far, like it's still going to absolutely flop. And we see this all the time in outbound messaging. It's very like, I'm your rep, we sell my product, our company, because that's the only thing you can talk about that you think applies to all of them. So the key to really, really good outbound that can certainly be enabled by AI is segmenting even further. So I suggest at least 5 more filters. So like stacking more firmographic filters, and then making sure you do at least one contact specific filter. And that pivot looks like CFOs versus finance executives like you.
Right?
Because how many emails have we seen like sales professionals, like you're in the sales space? And so it's just adding those couple additional filters. So you can say CFOs in Fortune 500 F&B organizations, and then doing everything you can to pair it with one signal that has meaning. So it's not congrats on your Series A. It's, I know that right after somebody closes a Series A, that's the time where they are most likely to hire their first chief marketing officer.
Yes.
And that first chief marketing officer hire means like XYZ as it relates to my program. So I'm going to only reach out to organizations that don't currently have a CMO, that got their Series A in the last 6 months, that are in this specific sector, in this specific region, selling to this specific type of customer. And I'm able to connect the dots to like why I'm reaching out to them specifically at this time. And by creating those micro campaigns, so you have that niche down ICP, you have messaging to match it, so you can roll out these micro campaigns. And I am telling you that like, you have to do all the other stuff, right? Like multi-channels and short messages and blah, blah, blah. But just making that one simple change to your approach and how you think about your outreach Like it makes it so much more fun. It makes it so much easier to write relevant messaging. It makes the interactions with your buyers more fun because they don't hate you. It's the pivot, folks.
I wanted to, I'm scanning my email because I received an email, right, where that went. So there was like, there's a place where it goes too far. And I really am trying to find the email, but I can't. So I probably archived it. So I'm just gonna explain it to you because you're gonna understand, right? So when you look at my profile, they've obviously used an AI. That's very obvious. But there's just this extent where humans make mistakes. And that's kind of like what we look for now to see if it's a human-led or an AI-led or if it's generic, whatever. So I received an email this morning, which basically said, "Hi, Hannah. When we work with CEOs and founders of consulting firms in the UK that have customers who are private equity and VC-backed B2B tech and service organizations, we see this." I'm like, you've literally pulled that off my website. Like, that is too specific. And then it tried. So I'm like, there's this place where it's like, but the thing is, that's going to work on someone because they're going to be like, wow, you really did your research.
Sure.
That's too specific because it's like, if it had some of that, then it's like, we know that what private equity and VC-backed companies are experiencing, blah, 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 blah. But you went into literally job title, like it was like job title, extract, business, industry, extract, but it's too specific because it's like,
it's like whoever runs their email copy figured out how to do field mapping for the first time ever and was like,
every line was a field map. So I was like, what's happening? And I'm annoyed that I don't have the email open. But then it was like, and then this is what we do. Can I interest in showing you how we helped those kind of companies? I'm like, wow, that sounds like so perfect, but it's not true.
Also, I think there's a big difference between knowing who you're speaking to and using that to create relevant problem-centric messaging and telling the person you're speaking to who they are. Like, that's just like reading your CV back to you. Like, I don't
that's not showing me you know me at all. That's just
totally like, I don't need you to read my LinkedIn profile back to me. I know what's on my LinkedIn profile. I need you to tell me why you think it's relevant to what problem you're solving.
It goes too far. But I love how you break that down with the segmentation, the extra filters, making sure you get that relevance, and then getting that contact level piece right, and then understanding what that intent and how that connects the timing and all those things. Like, that framework is golden. I love it. Like, it just makes sense. And what I love is that it's a framework. It's going to work in 2035 as well, not just for like, it's not going to work as long as the quick question, Hannah, works. Like, I hate I get it. Sometimes we need to jump onto the trends, but I cannot stand hacks. As in like that. It's like, hey, here's what worked in the last 3 days. And it's like, lie in the subject heading. And it's like, I get it.
Overdue. And you're like, yeah, of course your open rates were amazing on that email, but all of those people now reported your domain. So I get it. I'm not like a tips and tricks person. I'm very much like how do we take the philosophy of how I want to show up for my buyers and make it into a strategy and share processes? And there has to be techniques that back it up so that it's actionable. But how can you share the why the technique matters and why it works? So that folks understand what the mechanism is and they can iterate it as required versus like, here's a tip and trick that is certainly not going to work in 6 weeks, because our buyers are smart and they know when every single one of their emails is quick question, Hannah.
They do. If you filter by that, you find 700 in there over the last few months. So would you say that when it comes to standing out, if this is what it feels like, I might be getting it wrong, but when it comes to standing out, it's basically a balance between using AI to make you better and keeping the human in the loop, right? When it comes to that, I know we've hit time, but
I mean, here's the brass tacks. sales emails are really, really, really bad. And so we gripe a lot. We being like the sales profession, gripe a lot about how our buyers are ignoring us. But it's very rare that we are saying anything that is worth their attention. Like, we are very ignorable. We write very bad emails. And the primary way that people are currently using AI is to read people's I see you're the founder of blah, blah, blah. Anyways, we sell. And so they're using it to scrape, to personalize, but the personalization is deeply meaningless to the person receiving it. And beyond that, all of them are generally scraping the same exact data. So the email that you think is like so unique and so personalized sounds the exact same as the other 7 sellers using a similar tool, scraping similar data, which is why I still think that it is deeply assistive, not replacive in that capacity.
Understood, yeah.
Because if we are not helping the AI connect the dots to make the message relevant,
what's the point?
What's the point? What are we doing here? So it's great for things like, I don't think every single touch point needs to be contact level personalization. Frankly, I think you can run entire campaigns with literally no contact level personalization, have them be extraordinarily high performing if you do that process of like segmentation to run micro campaigns. So like, that's an incredible way to use AI. Like, allow AI to help you pull a list and identify the right signals and then automate it. But in between, you need to be the one that connects the dots and make sure that it's optimizes for relevance, not like reading somebody's CV back to them.
Yeah, we got a 40% conversion response rate on a campaign that we were doing, and it was all relevance.
Sick. That's all relevant. There was not high response rate.
There was not one single bit of personalization in there. And that was a test. We keep testing stuff to be like, how, like, did we need to go deeper and do it? No. Some people were like, oh, actually, we're just outside of that bracket that you mentioned. And it's like, oh, cool. Like, but it landed. You responded. Thank you.
So good.
So it's just like, there is, I'm always on the relevance. And I think we spend too much time obsessing over the person level stuff when it's just like, sometimes accidentally, particularly in big enterprise companies, they haven't worked there for 1 year, but they just got a big payout and they're just not working. They just left it there. And there are thousands of executives with the wrong job on their profile. Like, it's actually crazy. Like, there's so many things and stuff like that we just have to be, so just be a bit conscious. Not that it's inaccurate, but yeah, there's a lot going on there. But we've hit time, and I think I've gone into my next meeting, and you've probably gone into yours. So,
oh God, I have gone into my next meeting.
Live.
Okay, wait, but before we leave, people, please buy my book, Profit Generating Pipeline. Buy my book. I haven't got the pre-order link up yet, but it will be at sales@gtm.com/book. So check back in 2 weeks and buy my book.
And if there's a vote for talks, me and Leslie are trying to be on inbound stage, okay? Because we're going to kill it, okay?
That's right.
So go do that. Where can people find you? LinkedIn, TikTok?
Yeah. Live on LinkedIn.
All right. So LinkedIn, go do that. Thanks for joining us live. See you again next week.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Okay.